Yo, what's good everyone? Today I'm going to be breaking down some of my favorite tournament or GPP plays for this Week 1 NFL DraftKings main slate. Let's dive right into it. And like I always do here in these videos, everyone, I'm going to give you a high-level overview of some of my favorite game stacks to target here this week in tournaments, as well as some of my favorite individual plays in tournaments. But before we get into that, everyone, just want to reiterate, I'm still running that free Discord channel. You can see that mentioned above. We have over 800 people in there. It's completely free to join. We're talking multiple different sports for DFS, as well as some sports betting as well. If you want to join that, there's a link to do so in the description below, as well as in the pinned comment below. With that being said, let's dive into these game stacks here. Now, with 12 games on the main slate here this week, there were a handful of different games that stuck out to me from a stacking perspective. Happy to talk about those in the Discord over the weekend, but the two that I landed on were listed here. This game between the Atlanta Falcons and Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and the Miami Dolphins and Indianapolis Colts. But starting with this game here between the Bucs and Falcons, I truly believe we could stack up either side of this game, and actually the lower ownership side of this game will probably be the Falcons. If you wanted to roll out, let's say, Penix with Drake London and one of Kyle Pitts and or Darnell Mooney, I absolutely think that's in play. Run it back with a Bucky Irving or Mike Evans or Ibuka. There's a handful of different ways that we could stack this up. I really do like stacking up Baker here with Mike Evans and Ibuka though, and then running it back with both Bijan and Drake London, a true full game stack here. There's shootout potential galore in this game, playing indoors, and neither one of these defenses are that fantastic. So basically what I'm saying here is we know that the pass catchers are a little beat up for the Bucs right now. K. Dotton, no Chris Godwin this week. Let's put in the number 2 pass catchers here with Mike Evans and Ibuka. Baker Mayfield was fantastic last year. And then most of the offense here should go through Bijan and Drake London, so I like running it back with both of those guys. Now, if you wanted to eliminate one of them, that's certainly okay too, but I kind of like the full game stack perspective here this weekend. And then the other game that I like here is Miami and Indianapolis, and I don't necessarily love stacking up the Indy side of things, but what I do like here is stacking up Tua with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, again, his 2 top pass catchers. Devon Achane, you're kind of just hoping here from a tournament perspective that calf injury bothers him enough to not get a full workload, so they have to pass a bit more. Playing indoors, I really do like that. And then running it back here with Jonathan Taylor. Now, here's the thing. One of the reasons this stuck out to me is because nobody's really on this game. Jonathan Taylor might be like the 5th or 6th highest owned running back, maybe creep into the 4th if he gets a little bit of steam here into Sunday. But nobody is playing the Miami Dolphins. Tua's coming around 3% ownership, Tyreek around 9%, Waddle around 4 or 5%. So that passing attack for Miami is flying under the radar heading into Sunday. Now, folks, before we dive into some of these individual plays here, if you could like this video and subscribe to the channel, I would greatly appreciate that. It's completely free to do, and I'm trying to hit 5,000 subs on this channel by the end of this month. It's probably a super lofty goal, but hey, I'm going to try and shoot for the stars there. If you could help me get there again, I would really appreciate it. And make sure you check out my cash plays video here as well. Posted that earlier today. A lot of those plays are going to make it into my tournament lineups as well. Alright, now diving into some of these individual plays here, we're going to kick it off at the quarterback position, and I like Bo Nix here this week. Really like the Denver Broncos in general against Tennessee, and honestly, I quite like the Broncos heading into this season in general. But Nix here, his pass catchers are a little tricky, right? Outside of Cortland Sutton, and you can see I got him on the spreadsheet. But who's going to be wide receiver 2? Is it Marvin Mims? Is it Troy Franklin? Is it Pat Bryant? Is it going to be Evan Ingram getting involved? We really just don't know here heading into this season outside of Cortland Sutton. And I'll get into him in a little bit. I do like that price tag of $6,000. But Nix is another one of those quarterbacks who kind of offers that sneaky rushing upside. Playing at home here as heavy favorites. Again, I just like the Broncos in general. So, Nix, Cortland Sutton stack, we could probably just get out of this game, but I'm really intrigued to see what the rest of those pass catchers can do here in week 1 and, again, really all season long. Next, we got the running backs here, and Josh Jacobs stuck out to me from a price perspective and ownership perspective. I don't necessarily love the matchup against Detroit. I do, however, think both these teams are going to try and play slower, run the ball as much as possible in this game, divisional matchup. But Jacobs, again, considering the price, he is one of those guys who could truly go for 25, 30 plus DraftKings points in any given matchup. And and his projected ownership's coming in around 10-11% right now, and that could change over the weekend. He could get some steam. Another reason to join my Discord. I'll let you know if that happens. But right now, he's sitting around 10-11% ownership, and I quite like that from a tournament perspective. Alvin Kamara. Now, we know that the Saints offense is not going to be great this year. Spencer Rattler starting at the quarterback position. This should truly be one of the worst teams in the NFL all season long. But with that said, Kamara's still a guy who should touch the ball, 15, 20 plus times in this game. He's heavily involved in the passing game, really kind of a wide receiver too when you come to think of the targets he gets. So I think he'll fly under the radar a little bit, and I honestly quite like this game in general between the Cards and Saints. I think there's some sneaky gross shootout potential. It might not be pretty football, but we could see some points scored. And then my honorable mention here is going to be Travion Henderson. Now, Ramondre Stevenson is back fully healthy heading into week 1 here. He should be the lead back, but we saw the explosiveness in the preseason that Henderson offers. They gotta get this guy the ball, right? He might only have 10 touches in this game, but is that enough at $5,500 to hit 4, maybe 5x value? I'm not opposed to going that route. And then we got the wide receivers here, and this is one of those positions where I could truly talk about 15, 20 different guys and say, hey, there's a case to be made to roster this guy in tournaments or GPPs. One of the guys that stuck out to me if I'm looking to spend up is Nico Collins. If you go look at his game log from 2024, early in the season, I think weeks 1 through 4, this guy was balling out. 10 plus targets a game, super explosive with the football in his hands. And then he had that hamstring injury, which obviously hampered him throughout the rest of the season. He did come back towards the end of the year, played fine football, but again, go look at that early season game log. When you got a full healthy Nico Collins, this guy is scary, and he's kind of flying under the radar here in week 1 when it comes to ownership, so I would take advantage of that in tournaments. Cortland Sutton kind of name dropped him when talking about Bo Nix. We know what to expect out of him. I should see anywhere from 8 to 12 targets in this game out of Sutton, again in a good matchup against the Tennessee Titans, and honestly, I don't mind that price tag at all. If I'm shooting for 4 or 5x value in my tournament lineups, that's 24-30 DraftKings points. Sutton can get us there. And then one of the cheaper wide receivers that stuck out to me was Matthew Golden of the Packers, rookie wide receiver, but he's listed as a starting wide receiver heading into week 1. He offers that deep threat potential that we've been looking for out of the Green Bay Packers, and honestly, he could be the wide receiver 1 coming right out of the gates. And with Egbuka, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and Ricky Purcell getting a little bit of steam here in this same price range, Golden's flying under the radar, only coming in around 3-4% ownership. Now, 2 honorable mentions that I like here in the 5K range, Jackson Smith and Jigba. We obviously don't know the chemistry that he has with Sam Darnold outside of training camp and preseason, but that's just really a grain of salt that we're grabbing onto. So I expect him to be wide receiver 1, but Cooper Kupp is still technically there, and you never know. Maybe Sam Darnold has a little bit more chemistry with him. So I think it will be Jackson Smith and Jigba, and I do like that price at $5,800, but more of an honorable mention for me. And then Marvin Harrison Jr. here at $5,500. You know, I talked about this in my first look video last week. I don't want to say his rookie season was disappointing because his numbers were actually fine as a rookie, but the expectations were so high for this guy. We saw what Malik Neighbors did, Brian Thomas Jr., and Marvin Harrison just wasn't in that conversation, but seems like the guy's beefed up a little bit here this offseason. I love the price tag, and I love the matchup against New Orleans, and he's also a guy kind of flying under the radar, again, at a really good price, so I like that from a tournament perspective. We then got the tight ends here, and honestly, I wouldn't blame anybody for spending up for the likes of a Brock Bowers or a Trey McBride. But the guy for me here, if I'm looking to spend up this week, is George Kittle. Now, we heard the Christian McCaffrey news last night during the Thursday night football game, battling a calf injury. I'm on the side of him playing here this week, but if he doesn't, even more reason to roster George Kittle. But if CMC plays, we have Juwan Jennings, who's battling an injury himself coming into here, didn't play a bunch during training camp and preseason. Ricky Purcell will likely be wide receiver number 1. But George Kittle should really be pass catcher number 1 in this 49ers offense. So I like spending up for him when it comes to tournaments. If I'm looking to spend down here, I think Hunter Henry is kind of flying under the radar. Nobody's really talking about this guy, and the chemistry between him and Drake May was quite decent during May's rookie season. So considering the matchup against the Raiders, which I do like, Henry might be one of my favorite tight end plays here this weekend. And then Chigo Okonkwo. This is really kind of an athlete play, right? When this guy has the ball in his hands, things can happen. He's really cheap at $3,400. The Titans are likely playing from behind in this game. I'd be shocked if they weren't against the Denver Broncos. So maybe he sees 5, 6, 7, 8 targets in this game, and he could crush value. He really just needs 1 or 2 plays to crush value at that price. And then we'll wrap it up here with the defenses. We got the Denver Broncos, who should be one of the best defensive units in the NFL this year, playing at home against a rookie quarterback in Cam Ward. Sign me up for that all day long. You got the Arizona Cardinals taking on Spencer Rattler. They are on the road, but Spencer Rattler, I do like that. Steelers here taking on Justin Fields. I'm not really a Justin Fields backer. Hey, if he proves me wrong, I'm okay with that. Super cheap quarterback, and I'll take advantage of that in week 2, 3, 4, 5. But as I look right now, the Steeler defense has some playmakers on the back end, and just don't think Justin Fields is all that good for the New York Jets. Man, that's a new team for him as well. And then you got the Texans here. I talked about this in my cash plays video. If you have not watched that yet, make sure you go do so. Texans here, they got some playmakers on the back end. And we know that Matthew Stafford's a little bit banged up here heading into week 1. So they're kind of the cheap defense that I like. And honestly, I thought that they would have more ownership here as I record this here on Friday. And again, that could change here on Saturday and Sunday, but that really isn't the case right now. Alright everyone, that is going to wrap up this video here for today. As always, thank y'all for taking the time out of your day to watch the content here on this channel. If you could like this video and subscribe to the channel, I would greatly appreciate that. Let's have ourselves a great weekend here, folks, and let's win some money on this Week 1 NFL main slate.